Howdy folks, this is BelGeode, this is Microsoft Flight Simulator, and this is a test. Yeah, I know. Took a couple weeks off. Well, a lot's been going on. It's been crazy busy, so I haven't been able to record as much as I would like to. And of course, let's not forget it is the middle of summertime, which for me is allergy season, and I really don't think you all want to see and hear a video with me sneezing and wheezing. Probably not a good idea, right? So yeah, if I gotta take a little bit longer to make these videos, then so be it. But, you know, hey, I'm back. So, with that having been said, what are we looking at right here? And, well, we can figure out where we are anyway. We're obviously in Midway Island. My testing grounds, my top secret testing grounds. So there we go. But what are we doing today is the real question. Well, we're looking at a helicopter that honestly, pardon the pun, flew under my radar. So those of you who are familiar with Blackbird Simulations, formerly known as Milviz, the vaunted Milviz, and technically they're still known as Milviz, just not to us, the consumers, anymore. They're now known as Blackbird. Well, now there's a new subsidiary, and I actually don't know how long that's been going on. I would assume somewhat recently, because they just kind of appeared out of nowhere. And that subsidiary is Shrike Simulations. So Shrike is kind of like, I guess you would say, the budget brand of Blackbird. And I really hate to say it that way because I don't know what it is exactly that they're going for. That is just my assumption given the price of the things that they have for sale on the Shrike website. Such as this bad girl right here. This is the MD-530, known in military circles as the Cayuse. And this, of course, is a civilian version. Of course, I had to fly this one. You know why. You don't even have to guess. All you have to do is just look at the color, and you can see exactly why I wanted to fly this one. We've also got a little searchlight attached to the bottom. And this bird is relatively cheap. I want to say it cost me like close to 20 bucks or something like that on the Shrike website, which, by the way, Shrike/Blackbird/Milviz, your site says it's not secure. You may want to take a look at the security certificate or whatever. But I digress. So yeah, cheap helicopter. But in a day and age when we have a lot of cash grabs out there, does cheap helicopter also mean cheap product? That's what I aim to find out with this bird. Now, full disclosure, I have not yet flown this thing, so I have no idea what to expect. As far as my controls, they're set up exactly the same way as they always are, with zero curves or anything like that. So pretty much, if you've watched the last few videos where I've been flying helicopters and flying warbirds, whatnot, it's the exact same controls. I have not changed a thing. It's exactly default, which is fine because since I'm using Verbal tends to be pretty sensitive, so I'd rather get used to how much pressure I'm giving the controls rather than to change what the baseline should be. I hope that makes sense. But that's my philosophy on it anyway. I know your mileage may vary, and I notice a lot of people have been commenting, especially with the last video with the S300, the Schweitzer S300, about their control issues. All I can tell you is if you watched that video in entirety, you saw everything that I was doing to fly it. I don't have any assists on. It's all fully realistic settings, and my Verbal is set up properly. And by that I mean everything is zeroed out. It's fully calibrated. So if you're having problems with it, I'm inclined to think that's a you issue more so than the actual helicopter itself. And aside from which, just to touch on the S300, as of the time of this recording, there has been an update to it where the developers actually tamed some of the flight characteristics, so it should actually be easier now for you to fly. But again, I digress. We're talking about this little beauty from Shrike. So the Cayuse, I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, it looks like an MD-500. It's of the same family. It's still in active service. As a matter of fact, military and civilian, you can find this thing all over the place. And come to think of it, as of the time of this recording, air ventures going on in Oshkosh, EAA Air Venture. That's the big yearly air show that happens for a week. There is one of these bad boys on display there with full weapons. It is so sweet looking. So if you haven't yet, check out some of the channels like Airshow Stuff and so on YouTube and take a look at this bird. It is amazing. I've never seen one in real life, but honestly, I would love to. So if there's anyone in Western PA around the Pittsburgh area willing to take me up on a flight, hey, sign me up. I'm in. I'm in. All right. But now, for our maiden voyage, we're going to go through the typical things that we do, and then we'll try and start up via the checklist. I'm assuming that Shrike/Blackbird/Milviz put a checklist in there. I really hope so. But the first thing that I typically do is I like to look at the external static camera shots, because that's what I'm going to be using for my cinematic views as we're flying around whenever I need a break from talking. So we're in the drone cam now. We're going to switch to external static 1. Oh, look at that. That is perfect. So we can see the exhaust. We can see the searchlight. Nice. It's got my registration on the side. I love the fact that there's so many rotor blades on this puppy. That's awesome. That is awesome. 5-bladed. Really cool. And I hear this engine is pretty powerful too. So that is awesome. I don't think I'll look up the stats, but I may pop them up at the bottom of the screen just so you have an idea as to what you're getting as far as horsepower. All right, next camera. Same thing, opposite side. You know what? I'm okay with this. I'm very much okay with this. You will, of course, notice that the left side door is open. The pilot apparently sits on the left side of this, which tends to track because if I remember correctly with the MD-500, that is the same situation. The pilot does sit on the left side, as opposed to the right in most other helicopters. Now we've got a nice little tail rotor view. Look at this. Now I'm going to tell you right now, it may be budget priced, but it is sure as heck not budget quality. Look at this. You see the little chips in the paint and everything, right? That looks real. That looks real. This thing's been washed several times, and as it's been washed, well, you know, some of the paint is chipped off and whatnot. That's just amazing. This is the attention to detail that I love to see in products. And I'm going to throw somebody under the bus right now. If M Scenery put even a quarter of the effort and attention to detail into their helicopters as Shrike has done, they would actually be worth promoting on this channel as well as just about any other helicopter circles having to do with flight simulation. Yeah, sorry to throw you under the bus there, M Scenery, but hey, if Sergio from helisimmer.com can do it, then I may as well say something about it too. And it was actually my idea for him to write that article, because really, I'm tired of seeing people throw money away at rubbish. This helicopter is cheap, and look at it. Look at the quality of it. It's possible. Don't compromise just because XYZ company has something you think you might like to fly. When you get in there, it looks like total rubbish. All right, enough of that. Here's our last camera. So 4 cameras for the external view. I'm very happy with this. I'm very happy with this. I don't think it needs anything else as far as the cameras. Everything is functional and well placed. So it's stuff that I would use while we're flying. I appreciate that, but then I should expect nothing else from the company formerly known as Milviz. All right, so let's go back to this camera, and we'll leave it there for the time being. And we're going to go inside the cockpit, because I do have one quick thing I want to mention. Okay, so we are in the cockpit, and it's a lot roomier than I thought it would be. So you can see I seem to be the correct size and everything. And even the headphones do look to be the correct size. So I guess this thing is actually bigger than we thought. You can see we can fit 4 people in here. Kind of takes me back to the Arma 3 video series that I did. Kind of missed doing the Arma 3 stuff, but unfortunately it started getting a little too cumbersome to manage, so that's why our story stopped where it did. But the one thing that I did want to mention, I seem to mention this almost every video now. Developers, and this is just a blanket to all developers, when you do your cameras.cfg files, make sure you add a VR pilot perspective to it. If you look at the default files, the VR pilot entry in the cameras.config is always at the bottom, and the numbers are identical to what the 2D pilot, which is the very first camera entry, has, with one crucial difference. And the reason why I'm bringing this up. The initial PBH, I sound like a stuck record on this. The initial PBH determines where your camera is looking once you hop into that particular camera view. For VR users, we need all three numbers for, the different directions to be at 0. So it needs to be 0, 0, 0. What I'm seeing happening is there's no VR entry, so by default, the pilot camera goes to that very first entry, which oftentimes developers will set at like -12. Now, I'm over-exaggerating here by tilting my head down, but I want to give you an idea as to what it feels like for us VR pilots in the cockpit when something is set at like -12. It means when we're looking straight forward, this is what we're seeing. And what that results in is a bit of uneasiness, discomfort. You may hear a lot of people talk about, well, VR gives me nausea or motion sickness. This is part of the reason why. When you have yourself set at an unnatural angle, it feels like you're literally stuck tipping forward in the helicopter when you set your pitch to -12 or -13 or what have you. This is why, if there's no VR entry in the pilot situation or in the pilot config or whatever, I have been telling people online, go to that very first pilot entry, the 2D pilot entry, and change that initial PBH, that first number, from -12 to 0. So that way, once we get in the cockpit, we're sitting straight up just as we are in real life, and there's none of that disconnect between feeling like we're about to slide forward out of the seat. So there we go. Once again, I have made that sermon. Maybe I should just make like a short video just to explain further what I'm talking about, but I won't take up any more time with this video with that. As it is, I talk too much before we actually get flying. All right, let's see if we can get this puppy started. Please have a checklist. Please have a checklist. There's a checklist. Yay! Okay. All right, let's see what goodies they've got for us here. I'm going to move this puppy over here. Pre-flight inspection. Doors closed and locked. Yeah, you know what? Let's go ahead and do that. Tick item. And thank you very much, Shrike, for giving us doors that open and close. Nemeth, yeah, do this. Do this, please. Thank you. Thank you. All right, seat pedals harnessed. Don't worry about that. Flight controls free and correct. We can check that. There's our cyclic. Cyclic looks to be the right size. And we'll do our collective so you can see the co-pilot one and the pilot one there. And we'll do our pedals. Yep, everything appears to be free and correct. Collective full travel. Yep, we did that. Oh, I hate when it does that on me. I know I can do this automatically too, but I prefer doing it manually. Cyclic neutral, tail rotor pedal is neutral, collective is down, landing lights off, rotor brake off. Now here's the thing with the rotor brake. I think my rotor brake is actually on. There we go. Okay, now the rotor brake should be off. All right. The reason why on my Virpil, the flap lever is what I use for my rotor brake. So it has to be in the down position to be considered off, but by default, I always keep it in the up position just in case I'm flying something that actually has flaps. All right, cabin heat off, compass check working. There's our compass. It says we're pointing roughly to the southwest. I believe it. I believe it. Okay, that's working. VNE placards are out. I don't see them, but that's okay. I don't think I will need them. I don't plan on going too fast in this sucker. All instruments check. Yeah, everything looks cool. I'm okay with that. I can deal with that. Altimeter is set. Should be 29.902. Yes, it is. All right, that works. That works. All switches off. Yep. Circuit breakers are in. Looks like it. Can we actually operate the circuit breakers? Ooh. The fact that it's got tooltips tell me we can, but I'm usually not in the habit of messing with that, so we'll leave it alone. Fuel shutoff valve is open. Well, I don't know. Is it? Or is it off? It was in before. Is in closed or is out closed? I don't know. See, I should have read the manual. There is not much of a manual to this, by the way. It's only like a one-sheet tips page. It's budget. What do you expect? All right, before starting, battery switch on. Okay, let me do that. And I need to find my battery switch. Here it is. Hey, look at that. Everything's coming to life. Love it. Lights as required. Okay, I'm going to get our nav lights on. And we will also get our anti-collision lights on. That should be strobe. There it is. Pitot heat, reignition test, utility power, anti-ice, overspeed test. Okay, got all of that stuff there. I'm just trying to make sure I know where everything is. Even though it's somewhat familiar, being of the MD-500 family, there is some definite differences between the two helicopters. All right, ignition. We're going to turn you on. Hello, ignition. There you go. You are now on. Fuel quantity check. Where is my fuel gauge? Fuel. Bam, right there. Okay, we're looking good. All instruments check. Well, they're all off. If that's what you want me to check, then yeah, I can confirm. They're all off. Warning lights test. Okay, press the test warning lights. Hey, lit up like a Christmas tree. I love it. All right, we're good. Throttle, full open, then ground idle. Let's see if the throttle works. Throttle does not work. Okay, so we got to do it manually then, I guess. All right, that's full throttle. And we're going to pull it all the way back. Okay, we're off. Full open, ground idle, then close. Oh, wait, is there the little sleeve thingy? No, there is no little sleeve thingy. Idle release. There we go, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, I'm not sure if I'm going the right way with that. So we're going to pull it back. Should be clockwise for open throttle and counterclockwise for closed throttle, right? That's what I'm going to go with. Okay, so that's off. Okay, now let's go starting engine and we'll see how well that works. Cyclic neutral, trims neutral, collective neutral, or collective is down, excuse me. Idle release is open. I just did that, so yeah, we're good. Throttle is closed, yep. Generator is off, area is clear. Are there any people in the area? There are not. Now, I have no idea how loud this is going to be, so apologies in advance if you suddenly can't hear me. Starter on. Okay, where is my starter switch? And do I need the start pump on? I'm not 100% sure that I need the start pump on. All right, but let's try the starter anyway. Okay, let's go ahead and get this on. Oh, what went wrong there? Engines confirmed stabilized, throttle to ground idle. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Maybe the fuel was on. Let's try that again, shall we? Idle release and push this back to the off position. All right, this is why it's a test, folks. Okay, starter is on. Really shouldn't do it like this in real life. Okay. There we go. That'll do it every time. All right, so if you don't get a start, it's usually one of three things. No air, no fuel, no spark. So just run through it, and typically, at least in my case anyway, it's fuel, lack of fuel. But hey, we confirmed that we are now stable. Throttle is in ground idle. Check the oil pressure. Oil pressure is right there. It's in the green. I'm okay with that. Alright, warning lights. Accept gen out. N1 at 59 to 65. That's a good question. Where is my N1? Where's my RPM anyway? Okay. TOT, torque. Alright, there we go. Yeah, everything's looking green so far. N2 above 50 and superimposed, looks like it. All instruments check. I just did that. Fuel pump off. See, it didn't tell me to turn the fuel pump on. What the heck? It didn't tell me to turn it on, but it's telling me to turn it off. Okay, well, it's off. All right, let's do our run up. Make sure the battery switch is on. We're gonna want that generator switch on for sure. So let's engine out. What? Oh, you know why? Okay, because I don't have enough throttle power yet. All right, utility power on. Actually, you know what? That's gonna annoy the crap out of me. Let's just turn it off right now. All right, let's go ahead and give her some throttle. That is unfortunate that the throttle is not working here as it should. But I'm slowly but surely bringing everything up. Slowly but surely. Trying to get that torque up. Okay, everything's up in the green. This is great. Let's try the generator switch again. Hey, fancy that. All right, I'm gonna get my utility power on now and my pitot heat. We haven't done any of the tests or anything, with the exception, of course, of the caution and warning lights, but I think we should be good there. N1 is currently set to 100. Yeah, there it is. N2, N1. Everything's at 100. We're good. All right, before takeoff checks, all caution and warning lights are extinguished. Oil pressure check, ammeter check. All right, let's go through all of that. Okay, so oil pressure, still green. Torque is looking good. TOT is very low. I don't know why the TOT is very low, but I'll take it as long as the engine's not going to blow up. And amps are looking good. They're in the green. Okay, doors closed and locked. Cabin heat as required. We don't need it. It's the middle of summer in the Pacific. All instruments check. Nav and strobe lights are already on. Pitot heat, anti-ice. Okay, I would say we're good to go. Now, because we're in midway, I'm going to forego the whole ATC thing. There's really kind of no need for it, but I can set up this nifty little Garmin that they gave us here. So as you can see, here we are pointing to the west, and there's the Lexington out there. So we're pretty much going to do the exact same thing that we did with the Schweitzer video, since this is a test. Let me get our landing lights on, however. So, hey, look at that. Oh, and by the way, as far as the searchlight, let me turn off the landing lights and see if I can get the searchlight on. Let's go outside and see if it actually comes on. How about them apples? It actually does come on. That is awesome. All right, we'll go ahead and turn it off for right now. We'll get our landing lights back on. I really should be flying at night. I think that would be a little bit easier on us. I'm going to set this to GPS. Okay, radio's looking good. 1200 squawking. I'm not sure, because this is a US held territory, should we be squawking 1200 or should we be squawking 7000? Not so sure on that. In any event, one thing I do want to test is these, and I can't seem to find a click spot for them, so I guess we can then assume that we don't actually have headphones. It doesn't appear to be needed. The sound does seem to be a little bit low, to me anyway, but that's only because I have this thing set up in a certain way, so that way I'm not overpowering my own voice. Alright, but let's see if we can lift her off. So collective is coming up. Waiting to get light on the skids. I'm gonna be rusty, I will say that. It's been a couple of weeks since I've actually flown. That's enough time for me to get rusty. Okay, yep, there we go. There we go. So she wants to go left. Alright, let's get a little bit more collective going here. And you can see that translating tendency. If I put my head facing forward, the translating tendency means that one skid wants to go down. So in this case, it's a left skid. And let's look at this from the outside as we make our way to the runway. There's no winds today, so we can pretty much take off however we want. Okay, so hover taxi in this beast is not too bad. Of course, it's a lot easier done from inside the cockpit, because then I actually have a frame of reference with like the console and whatnot. But with that having been said, I will say this: it is easy to fly. Comparing it with the Schweitzer S300 that we showed off on the last video, yeah, it is way easier to fly. Now, how much of that is due to it being a quote-unquote budget aircraft? I'm not sure, because to be honest with you, I have the MD-530 by Sim, which I've shown off on the channel before, and this flies, to me, near identical to that. So I don't think it's a matter of one being more or less realistic, and bearing in mind, of course, I am not a real helicopter pilot, so I defer to some of my friends that do the articles and reviews for helisimmer.com, who are real helicopter pilots, both military and civilian. I defer to their judgment on it, but for someone like me that just bops around in helicopters in the flight sim, this feels realistic to me. This definitely feels realistic. The only thing that feels off, feels like I'm inside the seat, so I need to push myself forward here a bit. Blackbird, aka Shrike, aka Milviz, if you want, I can modify your cameras.cfg file slightly to add a VR pilot thing in there. And pretty much if you want to use it for future aircraft and their cameras.cfg, all you have to do is just copy that one section and basically change the GUID, the initial XYZ, which is the placement of the camera, and the initial PBH, which is the heading of the camera. It's that simple. Just start adding it to all your cameras.cfgs. Think about us VR pilots, because honestly, we're the ones that are looking at your stuff with a fine-tooth comb, and we're the one that's probably going to be raving the most when we see just how realistic this looks. For budget, yeah, I can't argue with that. Alright, let's go flying. Bringing up the collective. We remember we need some left pedal here, so I'm already starting to add a little bit of pedal. Cyclic, very little forward motion. And we're going to make a left turn here. Now the fact that the checklist mentioned trim tells me that we do have the capability to rotor trim, so I'm going to do that now. I'm going to trim us a little bit forward. Just bumps on the trimmer is what I'm using here. Release some of that back pressure on the pedals. And you can see we're already airborne. We are flying, baby. There's my burnt out building that I'm fascinated with. Alright, I'm going to trim us forward a little bit more. And we're going to really give it some collective here. Sweet. So far, I gotta say, I'm loving it. It is as easy to fly as I would expect. It really wasn't that tricky to start up, provided, of course, you remember to open your fuel valve. But yeah, I can only imagine what the weapons are like, and actually, let's talk about that for a second. So this helicopter does come with both civilian and military versions. And because of that, the usual caveat applies. If you get it from the Microsoft Flight Simulator Marketplace, expect it to have no weapons. If you get it from the Shrike website, of course, you will have weapons. And from my understanding, they do work. I have not yet tried them, but they do actually fire. They won't do any damage to anything in the sim, but at least you'll get the quote-unquote effect. Alright, let's go to the outside view real quick as we fly around the island. One thing I do notice is I do need a fair amount of trim in order for this puppy to point nose down, so that's a thing. And don't mind me, I'm just doing shenanigans as per usual. Alright, let's watch that airspeed there. We're at 110 right now. Looking good, looking good. Alright. Oh yeah, I'm liking this. Alright, we're going to do what they call a hammerhead. And we'll bring her back down. I haven't messed with a collective during this time. I'm keeping the collective pretty much at a set level. So just playing around here, making sure that she does what I would like to do. Of course, I'm kind of influenced a little bit after watching Oshkosh or EAA AirVenture all week long and seeing all the helicopters and stuff do aerobatics and whatnot. So naturally, you know me, I gotta do some shenanigans. Gotta do some shenanigans. That's just awesome. I wonder if I could do it from the outside view. That's gonna get infinitely harder. So let's get some airspeed going here. Basically all I'm doing is just pushing the nose down. I'm not even touching the collective at this point. The collective is just sitting there happily doing it collectively things. Alright, and we'll go to the outside view. feeling like I want to stop on one of these little beaches here, so let's see if we can pull that off. Alright, now I'm dropping collective a little to drop airspeed, and I'm pulling collective back up to make sure we don't fall through the floor. Pulling collective back down a bit. I saw a little strip of beach that I'm looking for. I'm also paying attention to my vertical speed indicator. Right now you'll see it's vacillating between about 300 and 200 feet per minute descent. So basically I'm just working the collective here. Just working the collective. Of course I do have to add more pedal, typically more left pedal is what it feels like here. And I am pulling back a little on the cyclic to make sure the nose is up, because I have not gotten rid of any of the trims. I've left the trims as they are. Let's come to a complete stop here. There's that ground effect. Alright, whoa Nelly. And let's put her down. Not gonna lie folks, so far I'm really impressed with this one. I know it's supposed to be Blackbird's budget line, but yeah, this is an easily, if you've got 20 bucks to spare, pick it up. No question, no question. This one flies well, it feels really cool. It's very performant in VR. I haven't lost any FPS or anything like that. It's just awesome. This is a sleeper hit. Blackbird, I'm so sorry that this went under my radar. My apologies to you. This is great. This is really great. All right, let's do this. Hold on, let me drink some water first. All right, so what I want to do, we're going to fly out to the Lexington. We're going to land on the Lexington real quick, and then we'll bring it back. And then we should be good for a recording. So, collective coming up. Giving it a little bit of left pedal, pulling back on the cyclic, remembering that I have everything trimmed out here. And there we go, instant forward motion. Loving it, baby. I am loving it. So it doesn't have to be a full-on study level in order for it to still be valid and still be a lot of fun. This is just great. It's not that often that you find me raving about something like that, but honestly, when I saw the price and when I saw the, well, I guess, lack of details in the manual, the non-existent manual, my first thought was, okay, what's going on here? Do we have another M scenery type thing? But as soon as I was told, no, they're actually a part of Blackbird, so it's Milviz, basically. I'm like, okay, you have my attention. And then I saw the price and I'm like, you know what? Now you have my commitment. Which, don't get me wrong, I would gladly pay for a full-on study level, and I hate using that term, study level, but in-depth, let's call it that. In-depth version of birds like this. But I mean, how much in-depth do you really need to get with an MD-500 or 530? Like, seriously. Does it really require that much in-depth study? I guess it does. All helicopters do if you're going to learn to fly them. But at least as far as for the flight sim goes, how many features do we really think we need in a flight sim in order to make it that in-depth? I'm fine with this. I don't think we need the persistence like Milviz's 310, or for that matter, the A2A AccuSim Comanche, which, by the way, yes, I will be doing a video. I just didn't feel like rushing something out without first taking my time to actually learn that aircraft. which is an in-depth, or if you prefer, study level. So yeah, that one's going to take a little while because I want to make sure when I showcase that one, I do it right. But as far as this goes, yeah, this is all I need. Can I fly it? Heck yeah. With ease. I've got everything trimmed out right now, and the collective is in just a spot where I am pretty much having smooth flight with near hands-off. I say near hands-off because obviously I'm still kind of influencing the cyclic a little bit, and every now and then I'll like nudge the collective just to make sure that we're going in the right direction according to the vertical speed indicator here. Alright, but there's our good buddy, the Lexington, Lady Lex. So we're going to hop over there momentarily. And since it's not moving, we don't have to worry about getting into the pattern or anything like that. But yeah, this is great. I can't say enough good things about it. This was what I call a pleasant surprise. Really didn't expect to like this one instantly, but as I mentioned at the start of the video, this is my first flight in it. I have not done any setup or anything. The only thing that I did do is I went into the cameras.cfg and did that thing that I talked about in the beginning to remove the -12 from the initial PBH. I'm going to keep harping on that, developers. You need to be a little bit more cognizant. Even if you don't use a VR headset yourself, or even if no one on your staff has a VR headset, just do yourself a favor, add it in there. It's not going to kill you. The numbers can be exactly the same as the original pilot config at the very top of the file. Just change the initial PBH to 000. It's really that simple. It's not rocket science, folks. Alright, we are coming in a little hot here. We are at what, 92 knots. Okay, well, I guess we are going in a pattern then. And I'm going to go ahead and get all of my trim out, so that's not it. Trim release. There we go. That's definitely it. That is definitely it as soon as the nose starts going up there. Ooh, baby. And I'm thinking we should probably go to the bottom camera view, because I really like that bottom camera view. That's awesome. So we'll swing her around here with do-si-do. Watching that altitude, we're already at about, what is that, 180 feet off the deck. Really should be higher up when you're doing something like this, but considering the fact that this helicopter wasn't really designed for carrier ops, let alone the fact that we're doing it with a World War II era carrier, I think that entitles us to make our own rules, right? Just nod your head and agree with me. Alright, so right about here we are abeam, and we're going to go ahead and call the ball. Actually, we wouldn't call the ball yet. We'd have to be on final to call the ball. But suffice it to say, we're going to swing her around, so I'm giving her a little bit of left pedal. Not much, because she naturally wants to go left anyway. Bearing in mind, since I have removed all the trim settings, I am now pushing forward on the cyclic just to keep the nose down. Because, of course, as the nose goes up, I'm going to start losing forward airspeed, which is fine. I do want that to happen, but I also don't want to lose altitude in the process. Alright. Now we're at 3/4 mile call the ball, and I'm totally not going to call the ball. Alright, so let's bring her in. We'll try and see if we can set her down on one of these two elevators here. So I'm going to pull back just a touch here. Try not to hit that lovely, what is that, a Wildcat? Alright, there's that front elevator there. Let's see if we can plop her down on top of that. Come on, baby. Come on, a little bit further. Daddy's got you. Here you go. Here you go. And plop. A little bit of the slidey slide, but not too shabby. How about we go outside the helicopter and take a look? Looks good to me. All right, so what say we head back to Midway and we'll call this video done. All right, so now I need to push forward on the cyclic. Collective is coming up, as you can see. Oh, need a little bit more pedal action there. And let's get the heck out of here. Collective is coming up fairly rapidly. Trying to get that translating, or that effective translational lift. There we go. Now we're cooking with gas. And I'm going to trim us forward a bit. There we go. Looking good, looking good. Nice, easy to trim, very docile behavior. I'm sure I could probably do some more shenanigans, but the real question is, why would I want to at this point? My objective in these videos is never to try and break the helicopter. It's just to see how intuitive it is, especially in VR, because as you know, that is the focus of this channel. I want to make sure that this thing works so I can sign off on it and be like, yeah, if you're a VR user looking for a budget helicopter that is not a piece of crap, this is what you want right here. Get this one. And hopefully you will believe me, because I don't show anything on this channel unless I think it's worth showing. And part of the main draw for this one is the name of the company. And I don't mean that to say, you know, Milviz or Blackbird, but Shrike. If you think about this channel, if you are a long-time viewer of this channel, going back to FSX, going back to Arma 3, you know that the name Shrike does have some meaning to me, because my quote-unquote female characters, Alianis, Gita, Tanya, their last names are all Shrike. Speaking of which, yes, I am going to be doing some more Skyrim VR, and you will be seeing the Shrike sisters again at some point in time. Just not quite yet. Trying to get things organized as far as the mod list before I start traipsing into different new lands. But it is coming. It is definitely coming. Alright, but let's bring this Shrike home. So once again, we're going to get all the trim out. I have the nose pointing down, and here it comes pointing up. And let's see, where do we want to set down? We've got a lot of real estate here, but I am thinking, you see that dark gray patch on the apron there? It's closest to us. There's currently a tree moving off to the right in front of it. I'm thinking there. I'm thinking that little black rectangle would be a good place for us. Since we don't really have to worry too much about wind, I am not going to, you know, like formally come into the pattern or anything like that. We're just going to bring her in. Just going to bring her in. We're all about making up our own rules here. The FAA is like, just give him some kind of airspace where he can be a fool, and we don't have to worry about him getting in our hair. It's true. I have ATC friends. They told me, just do your own thing on a small island. We won't bug you. Jose is probably rolling his eyes at me right now. Alright, but let's bring her in, and let's see if I can do this with any level of competency here. So slowly but surely we're bringing her down. Every now and then I glance at the vertical speed indicator to make sure we're not going too far down. And we want to set her down right on this rectangle right here. I'm thinking facing south. So we're currently facing southwest. And I'm going to give a little bit of back cyclic here just to stop our forward movement right there. And we're down. Look at that. Soft and easy. And that is my takeaway with this helicopter. This is great. Definitely a sleeper hit. Milviz, Blackbird, Shrike, whatever you want me to call you, you done did good. And by the way, thank you for adding purple liveries in there. I know you and I go way back with the whole purple thing. but I really do appreciate you adding it to this helicopter. That, if nothing else, is going to have me flying this thing way more often. And folks, it is definitely easier to fly than the Schweitzer S300. But with that having been said, that's all I've got to say about this helicopter. Alrighty folks, so thank you as always for watching. This has been BelGeode. I have been flying in Microsoft Flight Simulator. In particular, this is World Update 14. We are not going to Central Eastern Europe. We are staying here in the South Pacific. As a matter of fact, I might actually start branching out to other islands because I do want to show you the A2A Comanche. And I'm thinking island hopping is the perfect way to do that. Maybe we'll go to Tahiti or something like that. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But if you enjoy what you've seen, yeah, please be sure to leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so. That way you'll get notifications as to when I put up more of these, since I can't guarantee that it will be every single week. There might be some lulls, because this is a very busy time for me. But I do appreciate you sticking around with the channel. Alright, just to remind you, the helicopter that we've been flying has been the MD-530f by Shrike Simulations, a subsidiary of Blackbird Simulations, aka Milviz. Just don't call them that. They get mad now. Don't call them that, because that's reserved for military only. It's Milviz. That's what it stands for. Military Visualizations. Don't call them that. Call them Blackbird. But I don't like calling them Blackbird because all of a sudden that song pops up in my head. And you know the song I'm talking about, Blackbird. We'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the video. And as always, feel free to comment and I'll be more than happy to answer. BelGeode signing out. Ciao!